In today's video, we're going to talk about chicken coops and dealing with odor from your chickens. Stay tuned. I've had backyard chickens for years. I guess I decided to get backyard chickens years ago when I saw Martha Stewart had chickens. And of course, she had this fancy little chicken coop in her backyard. Well, I started wanting chickens. I saw an ad in a local paper, someone selling 3 hens and a little A-frame coop. I've had backyard chickens ever since. I've never had a problem with odor in my chicken coop until this summer. I have figured out why I was having an odor, and I fixed it. Let me explain. Last year, I moved my chicken coop. I have a pretty big backyard, but I had my chicken coop on one end of my property, and I loved where it was because it was in dark shade. Lots of trees were covering it because I live in the south and it does get hot. And I had an automatic waterer for my chickens. But the problem was I had a water hose that I literally had to lay out across the yard to this automatic waterer. Whether I was mowing the yard myself or my husband was, or we were paying a lawn service, you had to get off the lawnmower and move this hose, mow that area, and put the water hose back. It was a lot of trouble. So last year, I decided to completely disassemble that chicken coop and build a little chicken coop on the back of an old shed that we've had for years and years. That's also a pretty shady part of our property. The coop I built myself, and I have no building experience, so it looks pretty rough, but I like it. It works. I used all reclaimed or used lumber. I just found stuff in junk piles around my husband's barn and just used what I had. I even used some rabbit wire I had. I like the little coop. It's working. It's very rustic, but it's working. The new coop does not have the automatic waterer that I used to have. I did not want the water hose across the ground that we would have to move every time we mowed. So I purchased 2 different types of waterers. One is a galvanized waterer that you see at most feed stores, and the other one is one of those that you hang and the chickens are supposed to drink from under it. I used both of them. It gets really hot, and I never wanted the chickens, of course, to be without water. My 3 Rhode Island Reds are 4 or 5 years old, and I thought it might be time to buy some chicks. So as those Rhode Island Reds quit laying as well, I'll have some young chicks coming up to start filling in the weak spot in my egg production. The feed store where I bought my chicks required you to buy at least 6 chicks. You could not buy less than 6. So I came home with 6 chicks. Now, they were straight run, so I was gambling that some of those chicks were going to be hens. Well, they're 4 months old, and I'm happy to report I think 5 out of the 6 are hens. So I think I am going to have some pretty good egg production in a few months. I was feeling pretty cocky. I was very proud of my backyard flock. Until a few weeks ago when I walked out to the coop and I was hit in the face with odor. Y'all, it was horrible. I've never had a stinky chicken coop before, but a few weeks ago, the odor was horrible, horrible. I was just horrified. I was afraid it was because I had 9 chickens now, not just 3. I thought it was the amount of chickens that was causing the odor. I was so afraid I was going to have to reduce my flock and get rid of some of these precious chickens. After doing a little research, I found out that the leading cause of odor in our chicken coops is moisture. Having a wet chicken coop mixed with that chicken poop is gonna stink. I went back out to the coop and I noticed the problem immediately. My hanging waterer that I had ordered online was leaking. It was constantly dripping. That's why I was having to refill it so often. It wasn't that it was hot and the chickens were drinking more water. It was leaking. I removed that waterer immediately. And my galvanized waterer, I'm careful not to spill water when I'm changing it. You know, I remove that galvanized water each time I refill it. I have to take it out of the coop and take it over to the water hose and rinse it out and refill it. But I have to admit, y'all, I would oftentimes spill quite a bit of water when I would take it out of the coop. Well, now I'm much more careful, and I'm not getting that coop floor wet when I'm refilling the galvanized waterer. It is amazing how quickly, once the water dried up, and it just took a day and a half, probably, maybe 2 days, for that odor to completely go away. Y'all, it was amazing that I got rid of the odor from my coop by just eliminating moisture. Moisture that was my fault. It was me not being careful when I was removing the galvanized waterer and letting that little hanging waterer leak, and leak for days, and causing that problem. Something else I do that I'm sure helps with odor in my coop, but I've done this for years, is during the hot weather, I have that box fan that goes in my coop. I have that thing running on high day and night during the hot weather months. I think that ventilation in my coop is something that also helps keep my coop dry, but also eliminate odor. Well, I hope if you've had a problem with odor in your chicken coop that you'll look around and find out if it's a moisture problem that's causing the odor, because it can usually be fixed pretty easily, and you don't have to downsize your flock. Until next time, bye.